What if the very thing you're doing to scale your habanero operation is actually sabotaging it? There are hidden traps and common mistakes even experienced growers make when trying to expand. We're diving deep into the often overlooked blunders that can cripple your habanero dreams and reveal the secrets to a smooth, successful, and truly massive spicy harvest. I've seen countless passionate gardeners get swept up in the excitement of expanding their habanero growing operation, only to watch their dreams crumble under the weight of preventable mistakes. The truth is, scaling up isn't just about planting more seeds in more space. It's a complete transformation of your approach, your systems, and your mindset. Let me share the 5 critical pitfalls that can derail your expansion plans and how to navigate around them like a seasoned pro. The biggest mistake I see growers make when scaling their habanero operation is treating expansion like a simple multiplication problem. You might think that if you can successfully manage 20 plants, then 200 should just be 10 times the work. This couldn't be further from the truth, and this misconception has led to more failed expansions than any other single factor. When you're dreaming of acres of fiery orange pods, it's easy to get carried away and commit to massive plots without considering the infrastructure nightmare you're creating. Processing and drying hundreds of pounds of habaneros requires completely different equipment and systems than handling your backyard harvest. You'll need commercial dehydrators, proper storage facilities with climate control, and processing areas that meet safety standards if you plan to sell your harvest. Many growers find themselves with a bumper crop and nowhere to properly process it, leading to devastating losses that could have been avoided with proper planning. The labor demands of a scaled operation grow exponentially, not linearly. Those 20 plants you lovingly tend to each morning become an overwhelming daily commitment when multiplied. Harvesting alone becomes a full-time job during peak season, and if you haven't planned for additional help or mechanization, you'll find yourself drowning in work while your unharvested peppers overripen and lose value on the plant. Market demand is another critical factor that many enthusiastic growers overlook in their expansion plans. Your local farmer's market might eagerly buy your small-scale harvest, but can it absorb 10 times that volume? Before you plant that first expanded row, you need solid commitments from buyers, established relationships with restaurants or hot sauce makers, or a clear plan for value-added products like dried peppers or sauces. Moving from hand-watering your beloved plants to automated irrigation systems seems like a logical step in scaling, but this transition is where many operations stumble. The jump from a garden hose to drip irrigation isn't just about convenience, it's about understanding water dynamics on a completely different scale. The most common mistake is assuming that more water equals better growth when scaling up. Hand watering allows you to observe each plant individually and adjust accordingly, but irrigation systems deliver water uniformly across your entire operation. This uniform approach can spell disaster if you haven't properly assessed your soil's drainage characteristics across the entire growing area. What works perfectly in one section of your garden might create waterlogged conditions just 50 feet away, leading to root rot that can spread through your entire crop faster than you can identify and address it. Nutrient lockout becomes a much more serious concern when you're managing irrigation across larger areas. The precise timing and frequency that worked for your smaller garden needs to be recalibrated for different soil conditions, plant densities, and microclimate variations across your expanded plot. Many growers discover too late that their irrigation schedule, which seemed perfect initially, is actually preventing their plants from accessing nutrients effectively, resulting in stunted growth and poor fruit development across hundreds of plants. Water source management becomes critical as your operation grows. Your household well or municipal connection that adequately served your small garden might not have the capacity or pressure to support a commercial-scale irrigation system. Planning for water storage, backup systems, and even alternative water sources should happen before you plant, not after you discover your system can't keep up with demand during peak growing season. So, when you're growing habaneros on a small scale, you get to know your plants pretty well. You can spot issues early and jump in with a quick fix before things get out of hand. But here's the thing. When you scale up, those tiny pest problems can turn into full-blown disasters, spreading throughout your entire operation before you even realize it. The whole dynamic of pest and disease management shifts big time when you're looking after hundreds or even thousands of plants instead of just a few dozen. Pests like aphids, thrips, and spider mites, which might just be a minor headache in a backyard garden, can absolutely devastate a large planting. These bugs multiply at an incredible rate, and in a dense commercial setup, they move from plant to plant with almost no effort at all. What starts as a little cluster of pests on a few plants can, honestly, become a threat to your whole operation in just a matter of days. That's why it's so important to put integrated pest management strategies in place before you ever spot the first pest. Not after they've already made themselves at home. And, it's not just insects you have to worry about. Fungal and bacterial diseases are an even bigger concern when you're growing at scale. Diseases like bacterial spot, anthracnose, and all sorts of wilts can tear through a large field alarmingly fast, especially when your plants are packed in tight and sharing the same irrigation water. The humid conditions that come with dense plantings are just perfect for these pathogens to thrive. So preventive steps like proper spacing, managing airflow, and using preventive treatments become absolutely essential when you're dealing with a big crop. The real challenge isn't just spotting problems early, it's having the systems in place to respond quickly and effectively across your whole operation. That means having the right equipment for treatments, keeping detailed records on plant health in different sections, and building relationships with ag extension services or plant pathologists who can help you nip issues in the bud before they get out of hand. When you scale up your habanero operation, you have to shift from that gut-feel, observation-based fertilizing to a much more precise, data-driven approach to nutrition management. That laid-back style that works great in a backyard just doesn't cut it when you're trying to keep hundreds or thousands of plants healthy and productive. One of the biggest mistakes I see is folks just multiplying their small garden fertilizer routine by the number of plants they've added. But soil conditions can vary a lot across a larger growing area, so what works in one spot might actually cause deficiencies or even toxicities in another. That's why, honestly, professional soil testing isn't optional anymore when you're scaling up. And you need to look beyond just the basics like nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. You've got to keep an eye on those micronutrients too, since they can become limiting factors in intensive production. Habaneros in particular are pretty sensitive to calcium availability, and if you're not careful, calcium deficiency can show up as blossom end rot right when your plants are cranking out their heaviest yields. In big plantings, that calcium deficiency often comes from pH imbalances or competition from other nutrients, not just a lack of calcium itself. So maintaining the right soil chemistry across your whole growing area takes a systematic approach. It's way more involved than just tossing out some fertilizer like you did in your smaller gardens. And then, there's the harvest. The harvest bottleneck is where a lot of well-run habanero operations run into real trouble. You've made it through all the growing challenges, your plants are loaded with gorgeous fiery pods, and suddenly you realize there's just no way one person can pick hundreds of pounds of peppers by hand, even if you worked from dawn till dusk. Professional harvesting takes planning that goes way beyond just how you pick. You need efficient systems for moving through your fields, containers that protect those delicate fruits, and workflows that keep your peppers in top shape while you keep picking. And honestly, a lot of folks find out the hard way that their beautiful harvest is already starting to go bad in the containers before they even finish picking for the day. Once you've got your harvest in, processing quickly becomes the next major bottleneck. Those small batch dehydrators and home processing setups that worked great for your backyard just can't keep up when you're handling commercial quantities. You're going to need commercial-grade dehydrators, proper ventilation systems to deal with all that capsaicin in the air, and processing spaces that can handle the volume without turning into total chaos. The investment in infrastructure for proper processing often catches people off guard, and that leads to improvised solutions that can really compromise both the quality and the safety of your product. When it comes to storing large amounts of processed habaneros, you've got to think about climate control, the right containers, and inventory management systems. Moisture control is especially important when you're storing hundreds of pounds of dried peppers, because if you get it wrong, you can end up with mold, pest infestations, or quality loss that wipes out your entire harvest. And, it's pretty common for growers to focus so much on the growing side that they forget to plan for storage, until they're staring down a huge harvest and a ticking clock. Successfully scaling your habanero operation really means seeing expansion as a complete transformation, not just a simple multiplication of what you've been doing. Every one of these potential pitfalls is actually a chance to develop systems and skills that will keep your operation thriving for years to come. My advice? Start small with your expansion plans, put your systems to the test, and build your infrastructure carefully instead of rushing to max out your acreage. The most successful large-scale habanero growers are the ones who know that sustainable expansion happens step by step, with each phase teaching you something new for the next. Your passion for growing these incredible peppers, combined with smart planning and realistic expectations, is what's going to set you up for success that really makes all this hard work worthwhile. Remember, every expert started out as a beginner, and every successful large-scale operation began with someone just like you, dreaming about taking their passion to the next level. The difference between success and failure usually comes down to respecting the complexity of scaling up and putting systems in place that can handle that complexity smoothly. If this guide has helped you avoid some costly mistakes on your habanero scaling journey, I'd love for you to subscribe to Smart Garden for more in-depth growing guides, and share this video with other gardeners who are ready to take their pepper growing to the next level. Your success doesn't just help you, it helps build a whole community of growers who are pushing the limits of what's possible in specialty crops.